What's up, everyone? This is Jordan again from the Undergraduate Survival Guide. We have one of the most highly anticipated guests of all time in our, 8-month span. This is the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Gareth Kroon.
Well, thanks for introducing me. Thanks for introducing me so well. I think the only one that's demanded me was Vaughn, but I'll take that.
Now you've got honorable mentions in Daniel's podcast, James, Michael, and I think Brendan. So
basically our entire squad.
yeah, basically just guys from school, and that's it. There's no one else knows who you are.
Yeah, I doubt many of your Bristol friends would.
Honestly, they're about to find out, man.
Yeah, apart from the ones obviously that you've already told stories to, but
I met James's friends not long ago, and they said, "Oh, you're Jordan, right? We felt so much about you." When someone says that, you don't know how scared I get. Like the anxiety in the back of my neck is like, like, well, what have you heard?
I remember once when you guys came back from Christmas. I think we were all sitting in my living room. Michael was saying that he told his friends about me, and then James was like, "Yeah, I did the same." And then you looked at me and you were like, "Yeah, I've done the same too." So, and they're all stories that were, well, let's say, unfavorable, to say the least.
Oh man, that's what school is, though. I feel like once you hit uni, once you get older, you kind of look back on your childhood and it's like, what was I doing, man?
Well, yeah, a lot of that is for me. I think so. More so than others.
What do you think's the most retold story of yours?
The most retold story?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. Are you talking about in squad or in general?
Could be in general.
In general, as much as I didn't want to bring it up, but it's probably going to be something that was always going to be mentioned. I can see Vaughn just, loving it.
Just giggling.
Yeah, just giggling in the back. I'll probably say the wallpaper incident, but that's just because it was stupid. But I highly doubt many people talked about that past sixth form.
Wait, what was the wallpaper? I don't know what this one was.
I'm not going to elaborate further on that.
I actually don't even know what this one is. All right, we'll come back to that afterwards.
Yeah. Are you, okay, no, never mind. We'll see.
More
Yeah,
stories.
I'll probably say that. But to be honest with you, I don't know. I feel like past sixth form, or just in general, past sixth form, you kind of stop thinking about people from school, innit? Once you hit uni, the only people you really start to care about are the ones that you still kept in contact with after sixth form.
Mm.
I mean, obviously you see things on social media and you can just make comments like, oh, so this is what they're up to. But apart from that, I'd say in terms of the most retold story, I don't know if anyone's out there retelling stories. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm going to put a poll up on Instagram and see what the people say.
Oh yeah, that would be funny actually. Yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, because once I finished, I'd say once I finished my foundation year, I'd say like I stopped, well, not stopped, but obviously you still see on social media what everyone's up to, but you kind of focus on everyone at uni and the people that you're still friends with outside of uni, more so than everyone that you're in sixth form with.
Yeah, I guess once you break that school bubble, I mean, it's weird because in a way you kind of leave one bubble and go into another one, like uni and on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd highly agree with that, because I found myself, obviously once you leave, the school bubble and you hit uni, you enter the uni bubble, and all the, not gossip, but, all the stories and drama that happened there are its own thing. Everything that's happened at sixth form, and school in general, you kind of leave behind. And even to an extent, once you hit your final year uni, you can kind of start feeling yourself leaving the uni bubble as well. Because obviously most of your events that happened in your first, second, recent year or whatever, they just become memories after you hit your final year. Because you slowly stop doing the same stuff and you start to, well, obviously with the third year, you got to focus on your project and whatnot, but there's nothing else more to do.
Yeah, that's true. Well, so assuming you live your best life in your first few years.
Yeah, that's true. I will say
pandemic.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I'd say COVID has ruined the majority of, most of my friends from last year who graduated last year, and I'd say a majority this year. It's been quite a different experience compared to the first 2 years of uni. I will say I did not live my best life in my foundation year, which I should have taken full advantage of. I was just in my room playing games as usual. That's not to say I didn't go out with my friends, but I could have done a lot more than I did, that year. And I only learned that once I made friends with someone in first year that I knew from foundation year, but I didn't really speak to her. But once I made friends with her, it kind of showed me there was a lot more to be doing at uni than just sitting in your room.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? The most obvious solution.
Honestly, it's crazy how many times, like, literally everyone I've interviewed in the podcast so far said, like, obviously going out more is one thing, but societies as well. Like, just, it's crazy how I feel like everyone goes to societies. Either it's just me and the people I know just don't go and say they they wish they went more, or like uni just put up this facade of like of good times. But I don't know why no one seems to be doing these things.
I think it really varies on the society, and I think the uni in general, because I feel like our chemistry society at uni wasn't great, for example. Okay. But then they say that the subject societies aren't really meant for, I'd say, socials. Well, some of them can be, but I think it depends on the subject as well, because obviously you get different types of people within different subjects. So obviously a more academic one, like a science, for example, I'd say compared to like an arts society, they might have different ideas of fun.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I guess like, because I've noticed in engineering, a lot of our events are like meet and greets or panel talks. It's a lot more career focused. Whereas I see my friends in geography, it's just like, night out, science versus arts, Prism. It's like, oh man, I wish I could. I mean, technically I still can go, but
bar crawls as well.
Yeah, with the bar crawls, all the recently I've been seeing a lot of online quizzes, like Zoom quizzes, obviously because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing my friend in my flatmate does whatever he does, like economics. He's got like a Zoom quiz, and then my society is doing like a Zoom panel talk. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, you know what? I've lived with for the last 2 years. I've lived with members of the committee on societies, and I've had an inside look into how they plan their events. And it is tough. It is tough when you're in the society committee, especially when you have to deal with the unions for the university. Scummy guys, honestly.
Yeah, no, I've experienced that firsthand with Bristol as well. It's like, can we have £5 on an event? They're like, £5? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
You got to fill out all these forms.
I know what you're talking about. It's not just the forms as well. Yeah, it's gaining requisition to like funds this long. And then I remember last year I was living with the treasurer of the Philsop community, and he had to keep track of everything that they basically earned throughout the year in terms of money and how much they were spending, because he knew if they didn't, when it came to getting money from the union and giving it back, they'd screw him over. Because that's what they do. They want to keep the money as best as they can, even if that involves skimming you off.
Yeah, no, it's true. I remember, not to go off on topic too much, but like, one of my friends here at Bristol, she was the SU have like the actual SU leaders or whatever they're called.
The SU reps, the student union reps.
Yeah, that's the one. I knew a girl who had one of those positions, and she wanted to put on an event for like people of color in the creative industry, and like just have like creators around to talk about like untraditional careers and stuff like that. It took her so long to get like this, like the SU were like, nah, we don't want that, no one's gonna come, blah blah blah. Eventually, after months of like negotiating, she got it done, and it was like a sellout event, like the most sold in all time.
Yeah, especially at Bristol, where BAME is quite big as well.
Yeah, out here we're like tearing down statues and shit.
I mean, they can be really sticky with stuff like that. Especially unions. Like, I don't know, they also don't like when you draw. Some unions don't like when you draw too much attention to the uni, innit? Depending on the event, of course, in general. But yeah, unions can be tricky to deal with. But the last 2 years, I've lived with members of, I think last year I lived with the treasurer, and actually no, it was just the treasurer actually of the Philsop committee. This year I'm living with the sports sec and the president. So, and meetings are constantly held in our house for the Philsop stuff. So
madness.
Yeah, especially with COVID, you have to see how they have to deal with that in terms of Zoom meetings and planning and who has to do what, like delegation, isn't it? So it is quite interesting to watch.
That's crazy. Have you won any sneaky giveaways and stuff in your flat?
Nah, I tried. There was a general trivia quiz earlier this term, which I tried for, but when you're doing it in PhilSoc and they ask questions about the Filipino stuff, there's only so much you can guess. So it's kind of hard on that front. Like general knowledge is calm, but once they start hitting you with the country questions, like when was it founded, who did this, when did they do that, then you're kind of like, I don't know this.
Oh man, the one thing I know for sure is Von just called you racist in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, him being Filipino, that was it's a bad coincidence, but it is what it
is. Flip sakes, man. How was that? Because in your first and second year, you were living with school friends, right?
Actually, in my foundation year, I was living on campus accommodation, innit? I didn't really know what I was applying for. I can't lie. When I applied for my first accommodation, I kind of just went for the ones that are obviously en suite. I mean, I think everyone did, to be honest. Like, I didn't really think about the price of it, which I really should have, because student finance wasn't going to cover all of it. But I should have really looked at the price of the one I got on campus first year. That being said, it was pretty calm. I will say that my flat was I'm not going to say it was antisocial, but obviously, like, we were all very different people. So I'd say out of I think it was 9 or 10 of us that lived in that, I only got to know about, I'd say 2 people, maybe 3 at the most. And that was just because the third person was like a boyfriend of the first person. So, yeah, like he came to sleep over because his place across campus was a trash. Like, it was just a travesty. So, he came to sleep over at his girlfriend's, who was in the flat, and obviously he was a gamer, so we got along pretty well. And then there was this other girl in the flat that I got on pretty well with, that we spoke often. Obviously I didn't speak to them. I did speak to the couple past, after we stopped living in Tyler Court, because once I moved into my house in first year it wasn't in town, but it was just outside the campus. It was about a 15-minute walk away. Once I moved out there, they were nearby, so I went to go visit them occasionally. But in that first year on campus, I'd say the flat wasn't what I thought it was in terms of sociability. Because obviously everyone has a different experience when they live on campus accommodation. I feel like depending where everyone stays and who's in their flat, everyone has a different experience in terms of being different people, how social they like become, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, but it was a good place to stay though. Ensuite rooms are always better than sharing.
Yeah, no, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah,
I do think first year, I mean, obviously you can pick your room, but as far as your flat goes, it's just potluck.
It's very potluck, very potluck.
I think like some of my friends, well, to be fair, one of my friends, he had like the best flat in the world. I swear, it was like him. There were 2 guys who were just like him, and there were 4 girls who were like the coolest girls in the world. I'm like, fucking hell. Like, I met him on the first day. Yeah. I went to the wrong flat. I'm like, oh shit, this is my flat. I was in a good mood. And he's like, nah, you're in the wrong one. You're in like C block, not B block. Like, I went across the room and I was like, oh fuck, I hate all these guys. Like, I didn't enjoy my first year purely because my flat was just not what I wanted. But it's crazy.
Yeah. Wait, was your first year the one with the eggs?
Yeah.
Was it? Oh,
yeah,
I remember that as a second year. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, that was first. Second year I was with my mates, so that was cool. The first year, yeah.
Yeah, that was with the eggs. Anyways, moving past that. Living with people on campus first year is definitely a potluck. I went to uni with Daniel in it, so he kind of got lucky when Ali as his flatmate. So obviously when I hosted Freeze, I think the first week, and Daniel obviously came over with Ali, and he was like, oh, Ali's doing chemistry too. And obviously I was doing chemistry too, but I was doing a foundation year since I messed up A-levels. But when you head to uni, but I feel like there's not a stigma, but you're always a little embarrassed to say you're doing a foundation year. So when he said he was doing chemistry, obviously I was like, he's doing chemistry, but I'm doing a foundation year. So, but I bit the bullet and I was like, oh, don't worry, I'm doing a foundation year, so we probably won't see each other that often. And then he smiled as well because he obviously didn't want to say first that he was doing a foundation year too. When we found out we were both doing the foundation year, we just started creasing. Cause obviously, the odds were extremely slim. But, that was when I first met Ali. And then, obviously cause I knew him, we sat together in foundation year, first year, etc. But then I failed first year. So I had to resit, and, he moved past me and he graduated last year. But I did live with him for pretty much my entire uni, experience. I lived with him for about 3 years in a row. So
yeah. Shout out to Ali, man. What's he doing now, actually?
He's chilling. He's just job hunting. Obviously with COVID, it's been pretty tough. So.
Yes, I guess he would have just graduated.
Yeah, he would have just graduated, and obviously he's competing with, he's competing with everyone basically. Because remember COVID cancelled a lot of stuff for people when uni ended, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of people got stuff cancelled, and obviously now they're looking again. Even me, like, I'm looking for next year, but it's pretty tough with COVID. Like the uni market grad scheme is pretty much just, it's a mess right now. So.
Yeah, Carl, I talked to Carl about this as well, 2 episodes ago?
Yeah.
And it's literally like, it's literally like everyone that didn't get stuff, for people that, as you say, like, things were cancelled, like, that market's going to be so saturated for so long. I think this year's going to be the real one where it's actually properly difficult.
Yeah, I'd say it would calm down. That's the thing. I don't know if it's going to have a domino effect, because obviously, if you think about it, so you have this year, everyone that didn't get a place last year will be looking this year. And then everyone that's doing their final year is looking this year as well. And then obviously when they don't get stuff because people last year didn't get stuff, it kind of leads on, it will kind of trail on to the next year as well. So I don't know if it'll be a while before it kind of like levels out, if you would say that.
I get you. I think the difference is like these companies, because they've all been hit financially as well, so they're doing less opportunities.
Yeah, it's true.
So hopefully next year they can make up for it, just more, more options. But
and bear in mind, a lot of places are doing work from home as well, so the capabilities that they must need are, before we know, lessened or greater.
Yeah. No, it's difficult, man. I don't know, but I feel like the job industry's always been hard to get, and like it's never been easy. Hence why we went to university.
Yeah. Back when St. Mark's was emphasizing the importance of a degree.
Oh man, if only I listened back then. I mean, I did, but
Yeah.
not really.
Yeah. I remember when they barely offered support for people who weren't doing a degree, because they only really cared about the entrance results in it. So.
Yeah, they literally, like, as soon as they found out I was applying to Oxford, they're like, "Oh, you're smart now. Okay, here's all this free mentoring, all this free help."
Yeah. I remember that.
24-hour helpline.
To be fair, I wouldn't call that. I wouldn't call it unfair or fair. I mean, I think it was because obviously the Oxbridge ones are always the hardest to get into. So I wouldn't really call it unfair, but obviously it was clear that there was a difference in treatment for people who were applying to uni overall, as opposed to those that were doing apprenticeships or something else just completely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a chat for another day, but I definitely think they could have.
Moving back to accommodation. But first year I live on campus, and then obviously, foundation I live on campus, and then obviously first year I moved out, because I think you have to, there's a restriction with living on campus for us. I think you have to be a postgrad again to like kind of live again on campus to get a higher chance.
Oh man.
Yeah, like a master's student. So I think first year, we pretty much just, I wish we could have spent more time looking for a different house. We did find a good one, but obviously, like, when you're kind of lazy about it, you kind of just find the first house, and if it's good enough, you kind of stick with that one. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we stayed in that same house for 2 years, and obviously I was living with Daniel and Ali and 2 other girls, well, Fiona. Yeah, it was pretty chill. I can't lie. We had our chore list. Living with friends is always is completely different than you think it would be. Because obviously, if you think about when you're living with your parents, you kind of go about your chores, you do everything. But when you're with friends, you can just go down to the living room and chill. There's more incentive to spend time out of your room.
That's true. Not to mention that there's less incentive to go out as well, because like all your friends are inside.
Yeah. And if your house is not the best one, but if your house has everything and has a majority of the better friend group, then obviously people come to yours. Not that I'm saying we were the majority of the better friend group, but we did host frees every now and then, because our house is pretty close to campus. So when it came to clubbing, every now and then we'd host prees at ours. That being said though, the friend that invited me and Ali out the first time before when we really start going out, we went out a lot actually in that first year, but she had a place on campus for that first year, and she used to host prees like every Friday. So whenever there was an event, whenever we wanted to go out, that was always a place to go, especially because she knew a lot of people. We'd always be meeting different people every Friday.
Sounds like a club in itself, man.
I can't lie. The prees did get kind of clubby towards the end. So much, in fact, that you'd kind of, I wouldn't say, you'd be reluctant to leave, because the vibes of the prees are obviously a lot better than you'd anticipate, in most situations. So it was kind of hard to leave for the club when you're already having a good time at the prees.
No,
especially at the club, it's kind of hard to speak to people in general. So.
I do think by now it should be an objective truth that prees are better than clubs.
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously you'll find as much as people agree with that, you'll also find that opposing people, also agree with that, with clubs being better than prees. Especially clubs where you can just dance your heart out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I'd argue for guys, well, not to generalize, but obviously when guys go clubbing.
Yeah. All right, let's get cancelled now then.
Yeah, let's get cancelled. I don't want to finish that sentence in case I get jumped on for that one.
Yeah, just say, yeah. So when guys go outside and then end the sentence there.
Yeah, end the sentence there. No, but not always, because I can't lie. There was a point when going out with just the boys was a mood in itself. Like going out just to chill, drink, have fun in the club. It was fun.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's especially fun, like, I mean, obviously you're in final year now, but when you have years of less responsibility, like foundation and imagine the reset year.
Yeah, that's why I regret my foundation year, because I could have spent more of that time heading out instead of just in my room.
Yeah. Like even me, I mean, I'm resetting this year, and obviously I can't go outside, but I'm still trying to make use of it, like with the podcast. Obviously it's one thing, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But nah, like, to be fair, I feel like you did a lot in your, at least when you're living with, because you lived with guys for what, 3 years? Even this year with your friends?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Even this year, yeah. Even if I wasn't as close to the people I'm living with now, like, before we moved in, like, I'd say, like, we're like, very close now. Like, because the people I moved in with this year, they were like I still knew them pretty well, actually, even from the last 2 years. Like, I think I met like one of them at the end of my first year. But so during my recent year is when I knew him the most. And he was the one that he came last year. And, cause obviously last year when everyone was in their third year while I was in my second year last year, cause obviously I reset that first year and then, I was in my second year. So when I moved in to the house that I'm living with last year, this is all confusing. But basically, when I moved into the house last year, everyone was in third year, so they're all going to be graduating. So finding flatmates for next year would have been a bit long, especially because I lived in the same house. So when I lived with Daniel and Ali and them, we stayed in the house for 2 years. So it was kind of easy over the summer when you have to move out and in, just to kind of leave your stuff behind, innit? Because you're not really going anywhere.
True, yeah.
And then it was the same thing this year. I didn't really want to leave the house because obviously it would just be a bit long. And one of the guys that I knew, when he was working on a GSK placement, Lewis.
Mad.
Yeah, you would have met him on my birthday. He wasn't able to come, but basically, yeah, he was working a GSK placement, and he came down to visit for Careers Week. Yeah, and he was saying like he wouldn't mind living in the house with me next year. And then obviously once he said that, I was like, oh shit, okay, I'll take that. Especially because I knew what he's like as well. Because he lived in, we used to visit his house pretty often the year before that. So I knew like he was like a neat guy in general. Like he preferred his space and stuff. So that was the first flatmate, and then everyone else was pretty much mutuals of everyone I lived with in the house at the time. So like Ali and Poms, there was a lot of their friends, well, my friends as well. But when they found out that I'd be staying in the house, they came forward, and we found enough people for this year. So yeah, I guess you could say I've been living with guys pretty much straight. In fact, but this year is actually the first time it's been an all boys house. Every year before that, I had a girl in it. So it's been a bit different.
Is that, like, I can't tell if it's better or worse.
I wouldn't really call it, I wouldn't really, call it positive or negative. I'd say it's just, I'd say you're more inclined to be clean when there's a girl in the house, but
okay.
I wouldn't even say that just because, like the girls are saying be clean. I'm just saying in general, you feel a bit more obliged. But in general, I think even this year with it being all boys, it's not even that messy. Like I feel like you can be really bad at these uni accommodations sometimes. I've seen a lot of bad places on campus.
Honestly, yeah.
It could be really a lot worse.
I think it helps that you're all, like final year, because obviously your work's way more important than just like, because mess comes from when you have nothing else to do, you kind of get bored, you like leave a plate there, you're lazy.
Yeah.
But when you actually have stuff to do, and obviously you're like quite a clean guy anyway.
Leave it to soak in water for a day. I just be a guy. But yeah, you say?
But yeah, because like, I mean, obviously you're a clean guy anyway, but because you're now in final year, you got to be more organized, innit? So it's like, I'm going to eat at whatever time. You can't really afford to, well, I mean, you still can be lazy, but when you're in a better...
I'd say when I was in with Daniel and Ali, I was probably the messiest, although I probably wouldn't admit it then.
Nice.
But would you call it? I'd say I fixed up a little bit now, but like I wasn't super messy, just the messiest in the house by relativity, if that makes sense. So yeah, but living with friends has always been living with the guys in general, with like year in year out. It's been pretty different. I'd say, as opposed, I could tell if I was living with people I didn't really know, I wouldn't have been comfortable. That's why I was a bit worried for this year when everyone was graduating last year.
Yeah, I get you. To be fair, next year I think I'm just gonna get a studio. Like literally everyone's graduated by now.
I contemplated that last year, but the price of studio flats is very extortionate.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be worth it to get a studio if that was going to be the case, isn't it?
Yeah, I hear you for sure. Like this year I'm paying £350 a month.
That's not
two friends. Honestly, yeah. But if I want a studio, I've got to be paying still £340, but
plus
a week.
Bills. Oh, a week. A week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I can't lie, that's atrocious. I think the most we've paid was $410 a month, and that was when we were living in the first house. This year has been a lot cheaper, but I can't lie, I don't think expensive accommodation is worth that unless you're getting some sort of premium, some luxury package.
No, for sure. I mean, some of them do offer like gyms and like cinema rooms and study spaces, but
that's true.
Other than that, it's just not worth it. Like it's just a bed fundamentally. And maybe a printer.
And maybe a printer. To be fair, that is a mood, considering for us we had to trek up to the library every time we had to print or scan something in.
Do you still have to do that? I thought you were online.
Not this year, but on occasion when we were doing labs, we'd have IR reports that we get from our labs that we have to scan in for our lab report. So if you couldn't scan that in, we'd have to take pictures. But obviously, you prefer to scan it in to make it look a bit cleaner.
Yeah.
So IR reports is infrared, but I'm sure you knew.
International relations or something. Actually, on that, what's chemistry like at uni? Is it just like 4 years of titrations?
I'd argue.
And moles.
Let's see. Let me just run through my head. I'd say foundation year there was a lot of titrations, considering we were doing everything we did from A level. So I'd argue there's a lot of titrations on that. I'd say for the most part though, I'd say it didn't really get interesting until the second year. I'd say the first year was kind of dead on terms of the subjects, but I found myself enjoying the subject content more when I hit the second year, when we started doing like quantum chemistry, mechanics and stuff. But I feel like that's because it was more maths-based than anything else. And we're doing integration and differentiation and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It comes like second nature when you've done maths before in the past.
Yeah, that's kind of like teetering more into the maths and physics side of it as well.
Yeah, the maths and physics, Schrödinger's equation, this and that. So I didn't really mind that topic, especially once I did my revision for it. Obviously exams being online did help a little bit. I feel like if it wasn't, I wouldn't have got the grades that I got last year for it. And that's just being honest. So
That's crazy. But I mean, obviously this year is worth a lot more.
this year is worth a lot more. But this year we had the project to worry about. And that in itself, it's something else. So something a lot tougher.
Yeah. Is that just like a big titration this time? Like,
Well, I don't blame you. I wouldn't blame you, because if you do practical labs, then that's a possibility depending on your project. I'm not even lying when I say it could be that you do a lot of titrations to measure something. But for that reason, I didn't really want to do practical labs, so I chose computational.
okay.
So
What does that entail?
that involves visualizing. Well, for me, they've given me 3 different oxides: phosphorus, silicon, and boron. And it sounds so boring when you list it out like that.
Honestly, like,
Yeah. But I've got to model them using computational software. Just model the oxide in a 3D form and then calculate interatomic potentials. Again, it sounds very boring. It sounds very boring when you list it out like that. But yeah,
it's a lot more than just like straight chemistry. Like obviously, when you add a computer to things, it just sounds more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he did ask me if I knew coding, my supervisor, but obviously I don't. And I felt like learning that on itself and doing the project at the same time would have been a bit complicated. Mm-hmm. So I thought I just chose one that was a non-coding. It probably would have been handy though for the future, just after uni, if I did know coding with chemistry. I feel like it's a lot handier.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like the hot skill right now, like knowing how to code, knowing Python.
Yeah, but software engineering.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's overrated. Like, not everyone needs to know how to code, unless you actually want to learn computer science. It's good to have.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys go, I've got to learn Python, but fundamentally it's like, you do sports science, man. There's no need to
I will say that when I was searching for graduate schemes, a lot of the good ones did want a strong base of Python or even MySQL, depending on what you're looking at. And I'd say it doesn't help when my dad and my older brother are both in computer science doing software engineering. Obviously, like then they know the money in software engineering, so the focus on them for me to do it is a lot higher as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. It should be calm. I mean, you still got 6 months?
Yeah, give or take. Obviously we go a lot quicker now that we're in COVID and in tier 4 and in tier 5 and in tier 6 progressing. So yeah. We'll see.
Is Kent in tier 4?
Kent is in tier 4, but Canterbury isn't the one that's causing trouble apparently. So I'm gonna have to say Canterbury, like in defense of Canterbury. Despite it being a uni town as well. I don't know why it's not the worst, but it's other towns, I think, like Faversham and Raynham and all these other places.
Interesting. I think Bristol's currently tier 2, so I'm living lavish for the next couple of days.
Bristol is tier 2?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. If London is tier 4, Bristol is, bear in mind, another city as well. I'm very surprised, actually.
I think it's because a lot of students, like as soon as the students left on December 2nd, they went from tier 3 to tier 2, so.
That's very true. Unless for the international students as well, though. Actually, they probably would have left as well.
A lot of them aren't even here.
Yeah. Because I know a lot of not a lot, but I know a fair few that have travelled back. To be fair, a fair few of them have only travelled back now. I feel like a lot of them preferred staying here when everyone was here.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting year. I think a lot of our internationals just didn't even come because it's all online. It's not worth paying to just sit in a room.
Just to sit in, especially with accommodation being pricey as it is.
Yeah, exactly. It is nuts though. I guess, wait, so is everyone in your flat, they're all home students?
Yeah, I've never lived with an international student, apart from obviously that foundation year in on-campus accommodation, because then the chances of running into an international student are always greater then. But I'd say for the years after that, no. They were all people from London, in general, England, mostly.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ali's from Nottingham, but everyone else is from London.
Yeah, I don't know if Nottingham counts as England, though.
that far up north.
Honestly.
Yeah, to be fair, we made fun of him for that in foundation year, but we stopped afterwards.
I do feel like a lot of students, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me in Bristol, but I've noticed like a London complex in a lot of people.
I wouldn't say it's a complex more so than it is the accent. I'd say it was just, Ali's accent wasn't even that bad. I'll be honest. Like a lot of times people mistook him, mistook him from being from London.
Mm.
But when you really live with him and you heard him say certain words that came out a little bit more north than they should have, then that's when it made you laugh. I'm just remembering it. It always cracks me up to this day because he used to get quite annoyed. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of us Londoners are bully-esque.
If you speak to Ali, he'll probably tell you the same.
I might drop him a DM now, actually. One of my friends says if he's from Birmingham and he's scared to send voice notes in the group chat because we just take the piss.
Yeah. I feel like all those North cities, I think, was there anyone else? I mean, I think there was someone I knew from Sheffield, but, I don't know if her accent was, well, it was normal. I can't lie. We always make it out to be worse than it is.
Yeah, this is why I know all nice guys, man. This is toxic masculinity, like in a nutshell.
Yeah, you should have seen when we were playing FIFA. That's when it's at its peak.
Oh man. Yeah, when you put a game console in a room full of guys, this never ends well.
Especially with FIFA. I think we're playing against Dan, who's a bit of a sweat on FIFA. Me and Ali used to get so triggered when he won. Cause, Dan used to get, I wouldn't say Dan got triggered, but he used to get annoyed because we'd always celebrate when we scored against him. But whenever Dan scored against us, he was always calm.
Oh man. It's because it's hard to be gassed when you know you're going to win. That's my mantra, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I played against you as well, so.
Yeah, we'll get on Smash next.
We'll go on Smash.
Do you think like because I was thinking this as well, but I think it's a bit different with you. Because obviously Daniel and Fiona were together like just before uni, if I'm right, or like early in first year, whereas you settled down like midway.
I think Daniel and Fiona were together before we came to uni.
Okay, so like end of year 13 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I think year 13.
Okay, yeah, I mean, technically, if you want to go down that road,
it has been 6 years. It's been 5 years. It's kind of long ago when you think about it. But yeah, they were together, and then obviously through foundation, and then first year, and I lived with them as well, actually, to be fair. And then I settled down during my reset year, actually, at the beginning. Sorry, what was the question? Forgot.
Yeah, like, did you notice any? Because obviously Daniel, he said he didn't change much. Like, him and Fiona are quite a unit, I guess. Like, did you notice any obvious changes between how you acted before and after?
I wouldn't say I noticed, but I would say that they noticed. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not in a negative way. It's just, they just used to tease me because I had a knack a habit of bringing up, Tonya whenever she wasn't even in the conversation. So I guess you could just call that element of gasness for like the first month or two.
Yeah, that honeymoon phase antics, man.
Yeah, I guess you could, I don't know, I mean, I assume not every guy does that, but I just had an emphasis. I think the best example that Daniel used was when he was eating something with a fork. And then Daniel was like, if this is you, you'd be like, oh, Tonya likes using forks as well to eat stuff. So after that, I tried to keep it in. Well, I tried not keep it in check, but obviously you kind of drop in and out of it. But let's just say that was a recurring joke for the year after as well, when I was living with Ali Poms last year.
Oh man, yes, it's crazy how that's actually another thing as well. Like, because obviously in school, everything you do in like year 7, 8 kind of sticks with you to the end. And I think it's similar in uni, but obviously you have less time.
I will say that it does happen at uni too. And I'm speaking from experience. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's hard to say. I wouldn't say I noticed a difference with myself. But I don't know if that's, I'd say over time I did, but I think that was just me becoming more, cause obviously I can't lie, obviously if you go in a relationship, it's quite, what's the word for it? Obviously it requires a certain, level of focus and dedication. It's not like you can't just walk in the park through it.
Yeah.
So, say again?
It's a commitment with ups and downs.
Yeah, it's a commitment with ups and downs, but obviously it's a commitment nonetheless. So obviously it requires like a level of, I say responsibility, maturity. You can't just you can't be in a long-term relationship without developing those over time. Because otherwise you just kind of, you kind of just peter through it and then obviously eventually break up.
Mm.
So I'd say the only thing that's changed was me just becoming a bit more level-headed, and learning about, just learning about the relationship in general, like when to stand down, when not to stand down, etc.
Yeah. It's a good thing you learned that in uni instead of at school.
Yeah.
A lot less stories to tell.
Yeah, I'd argue so as well. But yeah, no, I'd say being in a relationship, throughout uni was, it was pretty chill. I mean, it will still be chill, once I finish uni. But obviously with COVID and stuff, it's obviously been long, but apart from that, it's been pretty alright.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess like building on that slightly, but going like broadening the question. Did you notice like an obvious change in yourself from leaving the school bubble into uni?
Personally, I'm gonna have to say no. Like, even after I left sixth form, I didn't really, well, not that I didn't think there was anything wrong with me, but obviously if I look back, I'd say I was a bit immature, if that makes sense.
Mm.
But I feel like everyone matures over time, so you can't really call that a change in personality, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
But when I left sixth form, I didn't really think there was anything wrong with my personality, so to say. I don't know. I wouldn't say I changed much through uni in general. If you were to speak to Daniel or Ali, I think they tell you the same. I don't know if Daniel did say the same on his. I don't remember him saying so, but I don't know. I feel like the only times you would change if you left sixth form to uni are if you weren't your true self during sixth form, for example. Like if you felt a need to reinvent yourself after you came to uni, that's when I'd say, oh, that's someone you've changed.
Okay, I get you. Yeah.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah, that's true. Because I guess there's a difference between like being different and then having changed, I guess.
Yeah. Because I obviously I'm not gonna name names, but obviously there's a few people like we know from our year that went to uni are completely different from how we knew them in uni. Obviously, that's not to say it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just obviously if they want to change or if they want to make something new for themselves, there's no one to say that they can't do that. It's just obviously how they feel personally about the change, like them wanting to change.
Yeah. I think the best way to describe it is that there are some people who develop the same way like Will Smith did in Fresh Prince. And there are some people who develop like Aunt Viv did in Fresh Prince.
Or another example is Claire from My Wife and Kids.
Yeah, literally. Light skin to dark skin, man.
I think it's the opposite way around though, actually.
In Fresh Prince it was dark skin first. I swear My Wife and Kids was
Fresh Prince was dark skin to light skin. I think My Wife and Kids was dark skin to light skin. Oh no, wait, it was the same way around.
Oh, mad. Okay.
Yeah. Because I remember Claire from My Wife and Kids when I was younger. But
no, I know what you mean though. Like some people definitely change more than others, and like obviously there's nothing wrong with it. Like it's all about how you're changing to benefit yourself.
Yeah, and obviously sometimes that change isn't what you call it. Isn't voluntary. It's also environmental. It depends on who you make friends with at uni, who you hang out with. Obviously, everyone makes different friends at uni, and I feel like at uni is where you can, as much as you made good friends with people during school. For example, our squad, we're all close, we're all calm. Would you call it? And we're all different people, but we all kind of all have an overlap, if that makes sense. I feel like we were lucky to have that from sixth form, but I feel like maybe for some people when they left and they came into uni, that's when they made their true friends, if you would say that.
Interesting. I know what you mean, yeah.
Because obviously you find people that are more like-minded at uni, I'd say, than you would at school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because like I guess at school it's very not necessarily fixed, but obviously like everyone in your area, you earn roughly the same amount. You'll come from roughly similar backgrounds, so you it's kind of predetermined. Whereas at university, you literally have your own personality takes over. You pick the course you want to pick. You join societies you want to join.
You speak to the people you want to speak to.
Yeah. And like literally anyone from any class, any background comes to the same uni. So it's a much wider spectrum. Plus you can pick, you can tailor make your own circles. So it's a lot more fine tuned. I think that's not necessarily always a good thing. Like I know a lot of guys who made mistakes and like, oh yeah, I want to be friends with this guy because he's, he's got money or something. And then you end up just not being close, 2 or 3 years later.
I can't lie. I know there are people like that. Personally, I haven't met them. I'd say out of everyone I've met at uni, just in general, even acquaintances, even people I've met like once or twice, none of them has struck me as how do I say it? To that extent, the extent that you just said.
Yeah.
But I know that those people exist at uni. I know there's a lot of people at uni. There can be quite a few tap people at uni. I can't lie. It can be quite mad, from the stories that you hear sometimes. Like the stuff that some people are capable of at uni is quite baffling, I would say.
Honestly, like it comes down to, I guess, like finding out who you really are and what you really want from the place.
Mm-hmm. I'd argue that as well. You know what? At the beginning when I came to uni, obviously, I can't lie, probably a bad idea to pick the way I did, but obviously I went to uni Dan went to uni as well, to Kent. And I just thought, why not? So I picked Kent. And I have to say, like, even though that was a bad way to make the choice, it's not a choice I've regretted since.
Okay.
Because obviously, like, things fall into place. After like going through like these 4 years of uni, I'd say, or 5 years actually, I'd say things fall into place the way that they do for a reason.
Yeah, I get you.
So I guess like even the recent year, as much as it stung back then, I wouldn't say like I look back on it as actually hard to say. It was a regretful decision. Not that it was a decision to resit. But obviously it's not something I look back on and say that it was in some ways wasted, in some ways not wasted, if that makes sense. Because obviously that's around the time I got into a relationship. And since I was only resetting like a module or two, there was a lot of time to be spent, developing the relationship. So it's not exactly something I can call wasteful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's a lot of, it's like a growth year, you could call it.
Yeah, I'd call it a growth year. I call it something that inspired me to do well for my second year and this year as well, actually. Because especially coming off a foundation year where I kind of just sat on my ass for the entire thing, and just passed it just like that.
Man.
I could have got a first for that year if I tried, but I got a 2-1 instead. And then obviously first year where I just failed, and then coming off a 2-1 for second year, like I want to do well this year as well. And I'd say that reset year was the thing that inspired that.
Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, I think having failed 3 times, my wisdom isn't really valid anymore. But, but it's definitely good to fail early and like to have that realization as soon as you can. Because obviously, like I've said it a lot in the past as well. It's like you don't want to fail final year, or like you don't want to get fired from a job and have that be your first L in life. Like failing first year is something that's so calm. And plus, like it's funded by SFE. You have nothing to worry about. A lot more free time.
Yeah. The ramifications of failing first year are always less than failing, say, second year or third year.
Like I genuinely think if there's any L you can take in life, it should be your first year.
Yeah, not that I'd advise people to make that choice, but if there is a year that even resetting your foundation is a waste. I can't lie.
Yeah,
that's a bad choice. But first year is obviously like it's just a year that obviously because it doesn't count. I'd say more so than anything else in terms of your final certification. Why am I mispronouncing that?
Certification, yeah.
Yeah, certification. I don't know why I was messing that up, but yeah, because it doesn't count towards that, I'd say it's the least harmful of the years to fail. If I failed last year, second year, I can't lie, I probably would have been a mess. Just because of how much that influences because that's 40% already. It just makes it that much harder with the 60% for third year.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, failing years that count, especially when they cap your exams. That's tight. Did your foundation year count for anything?
No, it did not. That's why I kind of sat through my ass in the entire thing. Like I tell you, my schedule was so bad those days. When I say I'd game until like 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, wake up at 1, eat, and then do the same. It was just horrible. I'd say like, if there's anything, I'd go back then and tell myself to like stop. Cause I can't lie, once you like once you like get more into uni and you realize the time that it takes, stuff like playing games, not that I still don't do it, but, there has to be a limit, obviously, cause I played too many. you know this more than me as well.
Yeah, I got the PS5, man. I have to know this. I'm the one guy in the world that bought one.
Yeah, I'd say if anything, last year, second year, throughout the year, I didn't really have time to play because I was just we had like 2 lab reports a week, deadlines. Second year was tough with the amount of deadlines we had. Even third year, this year, I wouldn't say I've been playing it that much. And that's just because the house is quite social this year. People are always out of their rooms. If anything, I spent more time playing Smash than anything else.
Yeah, just with the squad.
Yeah, just with the squad. Sometimes FIFA, or sometimes just playing, I don't know if you heard of it, but Jackbox.
Oh yeah, Jackbox games.
You know Jackbox games?
Yeah, man.
Oh, mad. Yeah, so we've been playing that as well.
Veteran, man.
Discord FM. Yeah, we've been playing that. Push the button, it's Among Us on steroids, so it's always something fun to play with friends. But I'd say this year, yeah. I'd say the only year that I think I've properly wasted was the reset. Well, actually, no. I'm going to nix the reset year, but foundation year was something that I properly wasted.
Looking back, do you think you would have? Because obviously, you didn't get the greatest A levels, but would you have like reset a year, or are you happy you did a foundation?
I'm happy I did a foundation. I know, to be honest, I don't blame, cause I know Tin, for example, he reset his, A levels and he banged them out. He got A star A or something. I'm not too sure, but,
yeah,
but he did really well. And, that was great. And of course, I think that was a good course of action as well because, it kind of helps him with his UCAS. I think I was applying to a grad scheme the other day and it was asking me for my UCAS points pre 2017. Yeah. So obviously if I had known it would have influenced now, then I would have been like, crap. But for example, Tin, for example, if he was applying for that job, he'd be able to hit those, what was it?
Yeah.
240, I think I can't remember. No, is that now? That's now. I can't remember what it was. It's like 60 points, I think, for an A or something.
Yeah.
But obviously he'd be able to hit those easy now, for example. So I am glad I did a foundation year though, just cause like it was still an experience in terms of making friends and going to uni. And obviously a lot of the people I met in foundation year are the friends that I was with for first year and to a majority for those of second year as well, especially last year. Cause obviously the chem group, the chemistry friends I had, I'd say were probably, one of the best, probably one of the best group of friends I've had because it was the origins of the friend group are quite mad, in terms of the people that knew each other from before, because it was made up of small little groups before and people like 1 or 2 people between 2 friend groups would become friends and then it would just join the multiple friend groups together. Most of that was due to Poms, Ali and Jasmine, I would say, because they knew a lot of people in the course and obviously everyone that they became friends with kind of became part of the larger friend group. Obviously they've all graduated now, so, but I've made friends this year as well with my new chemistry class, which I didn't expect to do, but it kind of worked out for the better.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing to do. How do you manage that in COVID?
Don't ask. Really don't ask. Cause I got super lucky with, in second year because I feel like with the most important things as part of chemistry with making friends is labs. Like, it's just the easiest thing to speak to people when they get put in your lab group and so on, when you have to work with people. And that's what happened for my second year. So after I reset, obviously I wasn't in the same year as Ali and them. And I didn't really know anyone that well in obviously the year below. But obviously I was doing labs. I made friends with like 1 or 2 guys. I started speaking to them a bit more. And then obviously when you're waiting outside the lecture theatre, they're who you go to speak to first. And, I just started sitting with them and bing, bang, boom, I was in their friend group. So I'll take that.
Flip sakes, make it sound so easy. Like, yeah, I just like rolled up to the club and I'm friends with everyone now. Like,
to be fair, it's not that hard if you're just if you're just a normal guy with jokes. I don't think it's that hard.
The funny thing is that's what's going to get you cancelled. That line right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, just be a normal guy with jokes and, you know.
To be fair, I didn't win best comedian, but I was friends with both you and Daniel, so I'm going to have to call myself a common factor.
I know you wrote that one down 4 years ago and been waiting to get it off. Like,
You know, I actually didn't, but it just came into my head now and it had to be said. Because it was the only thing that popped into my head when I think Daniel was discussing it on yours.
that's nuts. Just so guys get the joke. What was that? That was year 13 prom. Me and Daniel were nominated for joint most funny. But you stole the show by giving the cake to your crush.
We don't talk about that anymore.
It was Gareth's birthday and he gave the whole cake.
I can't lie. When I look back on moments like that, I gotta say that was some tap behavior.
Not even a slice of cake, literally the whole thing.
Yeah,
the candle was still lit.
I shudder to think what Mr. Longhay, Dr. Chak were thinking. They were like, the fuck is this guy doing?
So funny, man.
I would have understood if my past self cut a slice of the cake and gave it to Maria. Oh, more combat. Yeah. But I don't know why I walked over with the entire cake. It was stupid behavior. But anyways.
You should have put a candle in it and said, blow it, baby.
I don't think Luke would have liked that too much.
He wouldn't have got the double meaning.
I'm sure Dom would have explained it to him.
All right, now that we've got a couple of guys cancelled.
Including myself.
Oh man, that's actually funny. Have you had a proper birthday party since? I mean, obviously you have. I was there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really want that party. I don't like my parents spending too much money on certain things, innit? Just when obviously like they can be used for like other stuff, like bills and stuff.
Like bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to sound rich, like that was actually
yeah, like it's just like it's a bigger priority, innit, to me at least. But what do you call it? So when my mum came to me like the November before that, and I was like, I can't lie, I don't want a birthday party, because I can't lie, these things are expensive. They run into like the thousands, and I just don't think it's worth it.
That's nuts.
To be honest, I can see why some people would. Like, it does create lasting memories, and I can't lie, I did have a good time, especially like with like in all of squad there, all of uni lot there, all of my family friends. The only regret I'd say, I didn't speak to my family friends that much that party, and I wish I did. And the only thing I was annoyed at that party was that every time I sat down to eat, Michael would be like, why are you sitting down to eat? Come on, let's go. Yeah. I didn't eat a single thing. And bear in mind, I was down in Jack Daniels like mad. I was so drunk that day, man. The morning after was not pleasant. It was the worst I'd ever been. I was stumbling through the hotel rooms. Like, it was horrible.
Oh man, I've got a question to ask, but I'm not gonna do it. We've already been cancelled like 4 or 5 times today.
Oh, what was that question?
Nah, it's calm. I'll save it for later.
Okay. But yeah, I told him I didn't want to party, but obviously my mum was, I don't think she threw one for Graham or Dylan, so my 2 older brothers, that is. So I think she was, feeling kind of guilty about that, so maybe she wanted to make that up. So yeah. But, I'd say that's the only proper birthday party I've had since.
It's interesting because like in school, to be fair, in the final 2 or 3 years, we were out for most house parties and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember early in the school days, like you couldn't go out at all. It was like me, Michael, James were out to a party, but like, Gareth, you come on at night. Mum said no. Like, well, I got to leave at 10. It's crazy how like we went from that to like giving cakes to girls and going out frequently and literally having your own party for you.
I think, for example, at Cameron's in year 11, I left at 10:30 on the dot, or 10:30, like 10. And I remember because Brendan was egging me to stay. Yeah. This is when he made the crazy frog dance. Remember?
Oh yeah.
But what do you call it? I think my dad came to pick me up and I went home. Obviously, I wish I could have stayed later, but I don't know. I think the only way to evolve past that is not that I had a few arguments with my parents, but obviously like my dad obviously knew that because he grew up, even though he grew up in Sri Lanka, he grew up as part of I'd say quite a white background. So he was quite I wouldn't say he was chill, but he knew what being a teenager in England was all about.
That's nice, as they will call it.
Yeah. Yeah, to use that offensive term. He was westernized, isn't it? But my mum was quite more traditional. So I'd say I clash with her more often than not about heading out. You remember those times we used to stay out until High Street until like 5 o'clock. I head home and she'd be annoyed.
Yeah.
I think at one point in year 9, I was chilling at the bus stop with Daniel Porter and Michelle, and she saw that and she got annoyed at me. It didn't help that they're in a relationship and she frowned upon that at their age.
Oh man, they're doing well now. Shout out to Daniel and Michelle.
Yeah, they're doing very well. But would you call it? I don't know. I'd say it took breaking through the mold. I think sometimes you got to clash with your parents in order to achieve like your kind of life. Not obviously, there's limits to clashing with your parents. You got to recognize that they still mean well for you. But obviously, I wouldn't say I clash with my mom too hard, but obviously it still has caused friction like over time. So I don't know. I'd say it took a while to get to the level of freedom. Getting the scar that I had in my eye didn't help things during uni.
Yeah, that's true.
So, she's always been worried about me drinking ever since.
Yeah, reasonable.
Very, very reasonable.
Yeah, that's why I think, like, I mean, I would never say you're different, but it's like, that's why I asked the question, because I feel like I've seen a very different side to you, at least in the last few years. I mean, it makes sense. Like, we've all grown up, we've matured.
Yeah. I think Michael said the same thing, I think, when we were bunning up.
Just so guys know, that means, doing homework together in the library.
Cause he was, I think at one point, whatever he asked me to do, I'd always say no. He used to get so pissed off at that.
Great friendship we got going on, would he?
Yeah. To be honest though, he hated me. I remember he did not like me when we first became friends. So, and just for context, that was just because I was a shy kid. Michael did not like that one bit.
Not at all.
So, it took a bit of time for me to grow out of my shell in the friend group. And once I did, obviously he was calm after that. I think it got better once we hit uni though. Once I hit uni and I became a little bit better, I think he appreciated me a bit more, especially because I was a little bit more open to doing things.
That's true. I don't know how to follow up to that. I don't want to make Michael seem like a dad or something.
Oh no.
You made your dad proud, like coming out of your shell and.
Nah, Michael's chill. Yeah, he's chill. I mean, he's in doing his own thing. I can't lie. I mean, my opinion of Michael has improved a lot, drastically since year 9. I mean, this is the guy. Whenever I said something, I remember he used to give me the deadest look. And then I remember as well because when Brendan came into the group, he did the same thing to Brendan. Brendan, of course, was different and was not having any of that. But
neither was Joseph. But that's a story for Joseph's interview.
Yeah. If you do Joseph's podcast, just tell him about the time you beat up Michael in year 9.
Ask about the bag. That's what I got to do.
Yeah, ask about the bag. the glasses.
Oh man. Yeah, Michael's the worst, man.
He's a lot better now. I'd say to the point where like I don't know. I mean the only I said the only thing that's annoyed me about him for the last, or how was it, 2 years I think it was at my birthday when he was super drunk, and that was the only thing. And dude was photo bombing all the photos.
Oh man. What about when he was eating and playing on your PlayStation controller?
Oh, I'll be honest. I think that's reasonable. Anyone out there with a games console would say the same thing. Bear in mind, this guy used to just wipe his hands with tissues. It was still greasy.
No, I hear you. And especially with the PS5, the white controllers, I might just wrap it up. I might just get a wrap for it.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, but apparently you can't put it on a charging port if you do that.
That's true. It's fine. It's USB-C. I'll just plug it into my phone.
Oh yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, out of our friend group, I'd say I was like, I can't lie, even to this day, I'm very glad we have the friend group that we do. Outside of sixth form, like even into uni. I think I've got like, in terms of friends, like I think I've got a good balance of the uni friends squad in it. Because we always link up when we get back from uni anyways. Obviously with COVID, we can't do that now, but.
Yeah. We definitely got a good setup. Can't complain at all.
I think the only person, missing is just obviously Brendan, but there's always a seat in his. And to be honest, even when we link up at mine, there's always a spare seat on the sofa. So
literally, it's funny because you literally called me like 5 minutes ago. I was thinking, should I play it through? I decided against it, but now I feel like a terrible person.
Nah, he's chill. I've been meaning to call him because I think he called me like about a month or two back, and I was busy and I was on my way somewhere, and the train kept cutting off the signal, so I could tell he's getting a little annoyed.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's important. I guess the final note is like it's important to stay in touch with people, especially now during COVID. Like it gets isolating when you're just sitting on Zoom or playing Jackbox games.
Yeah, unless you're living with friends, it can be very isolating.
Like I'm literally in Bristol and Wands right now, but like it's cool to know that there are people in the world.
Did all your friends leave?
Yeah, man. I mean, naturally, it's Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah, but when did they leave?
Tim went back like a week ago.
Yeah.
And the other guy, Adam, he went not long ago as well.
Oh, you're not living in Moses this year, are you?
Nah, everyone else graduated.
Oh, shit. So what, Tim and Adam? Oh, shit, so you've just been alone. I think, yeah, to be fair, with tier 4, I'd see why you'd want to stay on, but what, are you going to come home for Christmas at least?
I thought about it, but it's tier 4. Like, I was going to sit in my room and watch the kids play Fortnite.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. But yeah, to be honest, it's kind of baffling how an hour and 25 has passed already.
To be fair, we weren't even recording for like an hour, so it's calm.
Oh yeah, to be fair, we were speaking for a bit before that. I completely forgot.
Yeah, it's calm. Actually, let me wrap up the recording. I don't think
any last thoughts or questions?
I don't think so. What do you have to say? Anything to plug or whatever?
I don't know. Was there anything on your list? We covered A levels. We covered foundation.
I don't know. I slightly want to ask more about school, but at the same time, guys know. Just by asking what your most retold story was, everyone was thinking about their favorite Gareth story. So I think the message got across that time.
Yeah. I was reluctant to discuss the story just because it's in the past, man. It seemed unnecessary. And in case like people listen to the podcast, the last thing I want to do is have them be like, "Oh, we're still on about that."
Oh man.
When I'm not, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we've grown. No more Apple videos and stuff.
Well, if Dom listens to the podcast, you'll get that.
Yeah, I gotta get Dom on next actually at some point.
Yeah. You should bring onto your podcast at one point a Chesna.
A Chesna. Oh my days. Talk about how he missed his PE exam because he was playing FIFA with us.
I think it was his PE. It wasn't French. This guy.
That's hilarious. Yeah, like I've got to drop him a message. I'll do him, Patson, and Dinma on the same podcast, like a panel talk.
Bro, you should. I can't lie, that would be funny. if you can get a hold of them, that is as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, we finished school, 6 years ago? It's almost time for a flipping anniversary. 10-year anniversary and shit.
Yeah, I can't lie. But give it another 4 and that's a decade. It's quite bad when you really think about how long ago school was.
Honestly.
But yeah.
I'm thinking about all the guys from school. Yeah. I'll definitely ask the Chester. That's going to be a funny one.
Did you get Von on yet?
Nah, I will eventually.
Oh yeah, okay.
He's working though.
Since he was demanding me to be on, I'd say Von when you get a chance.
Yeah, Von's one. Who was our head boy? It was Von, wasn't it?
It was Von.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Geneva was head girl.
Yeah, shout out to Von.
And Geneva as well, I see.
Oh man, yeah, shout out to Geneva as well. Shout out to everyone from St. Mark's back in the days. Those were good times.
Are you ever going to get her in your podcast as well?
No comment. Nah, Geneva's funny. I'll drop her a message eventually.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure she has her own radio show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she did actually. I think she did that in uni. I think it might be finished now. But I tuned in for a couple episodes. It was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Jazz music.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, man, that's about all the questions I have for you, man. It's great having you on.
Thanks for having me on. To be honest with you, I was a bit reluctant to do it because I didn't really know what I could add to the podcast in terms of stuff, but I'm glad I did in the end.
Appreciate it, man. Everyone's fundamentally interesting to me, so we get it done.